Good day, I'm Michael Barbour, a professor of instructional design at Touro University, California.
Hi, I'm Jared Bohr, professor of learning technologies at George Mason University.
This collaboration between scholars in the field of K-12 digital learning and DLAC, the Community Advancing Digital Learning, was designed to help bridge the gap between research and practice by addressing two specific research questions. These efforts were driven by a couple of overall goals. The first was a desire to address the specific needs that practitioners were experiencing, and the second was that it needed to be developed by individuals who were well grounded in research methods and understood the scholarship in the field. The development of the research agenda itself occurred in two phases, both of which were designed to better understand what questions practitioners had that researchers could answer and what issues practitioners faced that researchers could address. Each phase took approximately 8 months to develop and refine. The actual data collection included focus groups and surveys that were conducted within the broader K-12 digital learning community, in particular with practitioner-focused organizations in the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. The goal was to create a broad and global outreach to solicit feedback. The first phase was released in conjunction with the Digital Learning Annual Conference in February 2025, and the second phase is being released as a part of the 2025 Digital Learningpalooza.
So after all that, we came up with 9 research themes, and I'm just going to share a little bit on each one. The first one is instructional strategies. So rather than comparing in-person to online learning, we should look at the instructional strategies of online learning and better understand those, because there's lots of ways to teach and to provide instruction to students, and we want to better understand how we can use those to make learning more accessible, personalized, and equitable in digital environments. There's also lots of ways to structure and deliver online learning to students. And so we want to better understand enrollment models, pacing structures, instructional modalities, which includes synchronous, asynchronous, or the combination of the two, sometimes called bicronous learning, and how those can impact student outcomes, engagement, and persistence. Engagement is a really big topic. It's really important. We know that it's important to learning outcomes, but we need more research that better defines engagement and also identifies the indicators of affective, behavioral, and cognitive engagement, and better understand how to measure those and how those can impact learning outcomes. We also want to better understand how to assess learning online. There's lots of ways of assessing learning, but we want to make sure that we identify models that are valid, reliable, and equitable in these digital environments. We also know that it can be a transition for students to move into the online environment from an in-person environment. And so we want to make sure that they are ready and prepared for that transition. And so we need research to better measure student readiness so that we can better understand how to prepare and support them in online environments. We also know that as we become more inclusive with online learning, we need to better understand special populations. That includes students with disabilities and English learners, and how can we better help them to thrive in digital environments. There's also lots of emerging technologies. Right now it's generative AI that's dominating the conversation, but there's always new technologies that are coming out. And so we want to better understand how do those impact learning and how can they be leveraged to better personalize and engage learners in equitable and ethical ways. We can do a lot to support students online from a distance, but we also want to understand how students' proximal support systems can support them. So that includes parents, families, and on-site facilitators as well. Lastly, we want to better understand how to prepare educators for the digital environments and online learning, and also how do we develop the educators that are already in those environments. And notice that we say educators, not teachers, because this is bigger than teachers, and this can include individuals such as administrators as well.
In terms of what happens next, following the release of the Phase 2 research agenda, our scholars will begin to draft full-length journal articles that will be published in the Open Access Journal of Online Learning Research in conjunction with the DLAC Ignite Conference in February 2026. Finally, Jared and I would like to thank all of those who have taken the lead or been involved in the creation of this research agenda.